From now on, we're going to start the second session of day 2 on Pyeongchang 2018 Winter Olympic Games and Public Diplomacy for Peace. I'm Kim Ga-yeon, MC for this session. Thank you very much for attending this event. Let me introduce you the moderator for this session. Professor Sung-woo Lee is now the professor at the Global Academy for Future Civilizations, Kyunghee University. For the past 30 years, he has worked with a range of civic groups in Korea and worked with other international organizations. More recently, to achieve the SDGs of UN and public agenda, he's making a lot of efforts. Now, let me turn over the mic to Mr. Lee, Professor Lee. Please welcome him. Hello, everyone. It's great to see you all. I'm Moderator Sung Lee. This session was co-organized by the Pyeongchang and the Korea Public Diplomacy Association. As you have already seen in the program of this session is about the Pyeongchang 2018 Winter Olympic Games and Public Diplomacy for Peace. As you may remember, back 2018, we held the Pyeongchang 2018 Winter Olympics successfully. So in the global community, Pyeongchang Olympics became one of the key words in achieving the peace, global peace. So annually, we hold the Pyeongchang Peace Forum in the winter times. Pyeongchang, as the host city of the Olympics, it renamed itself as a peace city of peace, and now Pyeongchang is implementing a range of projects in an attempt to achieve peace, contribute to building peace. So it's time to take stock of those projects. So this time we are going to discuss that point. We have two speakers who are going to deliver greetings, welcoming remarks. First, Mr. Young-hoon Choi, the City Administrative Support Bureau of Pyeongchang. Hello, everyone. I'm Young-hoon Choi, Director General of Pyeongchang City Administrative Support Bureau. First of all, I'd like to send my appreciation to moderator, Mr. Sung-woo Lee, and audience, and ladies and gentlemen from home and abroad. This session is about Pyeongchang 2018 Winter Olympic Games and the public diplomacy for peace. I'm very honored to be here with you today. Pyeongchang is trying to build peace and make contributions to building process since the Pyeongchang 2018 Winter Olympics. To maintain the legacy of Pyeongchang Olympics, we established the required infrastructure, including Pyeongchang Park, Peace Park, and the Pyeongchang Movie Festival, and other numerous projects. We are trying to make Pyeongchang one of the key city of peace. To achieve our goal, for building process, in the peace building process, the public-private partnership is critical. In this session, I hope that you can have a time to better understand the process toward the peace building. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Choi. And Mr. Ho Chang-shin is from the Korea Public Diplomacy Association. He is the president-elect of the Korea Public Diplomacy Association. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. Hello, everyone. I have not expected that I'd be here with you today. I thought about what messages would be good for this session. Okay, when the Incheon International Airport was first opened about 20 years ago, I served as an advisor to make the best hub city which can beat other Hong Kong or Nagoya international airports. So I provided my advice to in an effort to contribute to building an international hub airport. At the time, the budget was about 2.8 billion Korean won. Sorry, it's about 8 billion won. So I persuaded at the time the Bureau of International Airport to spend the total budget, the 8 billion Korean won, for promotion of the airport. Now, Incheon Airport has settled as one of the key hub airports. I mean, in the international community. My hometown is Jeju, and now and then at the time the governor of Muju, he told me that he wanted to attract. I mean, he wanted to host the Winter Olympics. However, they lost. And there's another project in Jeolla provinces called Saemangeum. And I served as the chief of the commissioner of the evaluation committee for the project. At the time, I thought when we held the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, so I thought that this Olympics can replace the Davos Forum. Currently, ESG is one of the key words, right, in the global community, and the Pyeongchang can serve as the leader of the ESG. This session can be good beginning point to replace, to grow Pyeongchang for Peace Forum to replace the Davos Forum. Thank you for hosting this event. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, the President of the Korea Public Diplomacy Association. Yes, we have a good kind of goal to upgrade the Pyeongchang Peace Forum. Thank you.
연사를 모셨습니다.
We have six speakers today, as you know. Today's theme is Pyeongchang 2018 Winter Olympic Games and public diplomacy for peace. When it comes to diplomacy, the gist of it lies in communication. So we will divide our speakers into two parts. So the four speakers will focus on the peace and how we would reach out to the civil society. And the other part, those are two speakers that we have. We'll talk about the peace diplomacy, what that can be done by the municipal government. So that we will first listen from our four speakers, and then we will have a short Q&A session, and then we will have our another two speakers. We will talk about some different perspectives, and we had the Pyeongchang Peace Forum in the February. That was very similar in concept, and then in its concept, similar to Jeju Forum. And in May, we also joined in online forum in the Gwangju region, which is very known for the democracy, the protest. So that's both. In several months, we are conducting or participating a number of or an array of the forum, so that with all these pile up, we will have a big forum of our own in Pyeongchang. And our first speaker is Professor Kim Hwa-jung from Ewha Women's University. Maybe she is not in from from this region, but she has written the paper in the Pyeongchang Olympic. So I hope that well, since we are, but in Pyeongchang, we are in the Jeju right now. Maybe sometime in the near future, we would like to invite her to Pyeongchang region to have another forum. So thank you very much. I am Kim Ha-jung. I would like to deliver my gratitude to Pyeongchang, from Pyeongchang municipal government. Today, I would like to talk about what kind of implication Pyeongchang Olympic holds in terms of public diplomacy. We can see it from two different two perspectives. One is the actors' the point of view, and the second is the the perspective. Then what kind of all those the sports, grand mega size sports that has in terms of the kind of meaning those Olympic holds in terms of the diplomacy. And when we look at the papers that have been published in this regard, the Olympic is a very meaningful in that it has a soft power to around the world. So that today I would like to focus on the soft power and the culture, soft power based diplomacy, and the specific that it impact that it has is that it can be a very the realistic and then the positive and the non-political act of diplomacy. And as it has been mentioned during by our previous presenters, and the Pyeongchang Olympic is very meaningful in that it realized the Peace Olympic and the Korean the peace process, and also that has realized the Korean Peninsula driver theory, and then see as North Korea as a part of the normal states. So, and then today I would like to focus on three things. And the first is the sports as a part of the soft power, the culture driven soft power. And it is very meaningful that Pyeongchang has utilized sports and to conduct to conduct a non-political diplomacy, and then also that not only in the words, but also it has drawn out the non-political, the diplomatic outcome. And then second thing is that we could draw the participation by many different stakeholders. And one of the key roles played in this regard is by Pyeongchang, the municipal government of Gangwon. And then, well, as a middleman, the Pyeongchang had played a key role in this Pyeongchang Olympic. And when we take into account also the kind of the bidding process, it was almost like it was a long-term project for Pyeongchang City, because it took almost 15 years from the bidding process to actually the hosting of this the Olympics. Then what kind of this impacts or the implication this the Pyeongchang Olympic has, or the what kind of the what we should do in this post Pyeongchang Olympic era? First, we need to focus on one of the great achievements that Pyeongchang Olympic had is that well, it had opened up the communication between the inter-Korean states. But we also need to account that whether this communication would still go on in the times to come. Then well, and another the things that we need to focus on, we should we should expand our dialogue with the general public, because by doing so we can increase the public awareness or the change people's perception of North Korea, and also we can deliver the great some message to the high officials in the North Korea. And then after we opened up the communication, and then we can move forward to a positive manner. Then to make it possible, what should we do? First is the transparency. And in this time of the post Pyeongchang era, I think that in terms of the transparency, it is already being done very well in terms of the public diplomatic processes. And when we look at the various the exhibitions and also the art museum the activities that's well a lot of the messages are being taken in transparently. And the second one is that when we conduct a kind of initiative or projects, we need to accommodate many different stakeholders. And the third one is it should be participatory. And when we come up with many different projects, well, there one of the prime example would be making the foreign the students study in Gangwon region and then make them as the honorary ambassadors to this region. I think we can take into account these kind of examples. So thank you very much.
So I think she analyzed the Pyeongchang Olympics from the perspective of the public sports. Currently, it is not easy to have a inter-Korean dialogue. However, based on our success stories in Pyeongchang, she suggested that we should communicate with global citizens beyond North Korea. However, we have a long way to go. However, the Pyeongchang Peace Forum can be a good first step, okay, to make an improvement, the substantive improvement. Thank you very much for your suggestion. And next, I'd like to invite Ms. Esther Lee. He's general manager of Arirang TV and Radio TV. So they played a great role in promoting Pyeongchang Winter Olympics. Ms. Lee, please start your presentation. Thank you very much. I'm Esther Lee. Thank you for giving this opportunity to talk about the role of public diplomacy and media in regard to the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics. First, I'm going to focus on the public diplomacy and media and the role of media for peace in Pyeongchang. First, the relationship between the public diplomacy and media. In the past, we just had the propaganda to deliver the information. It was unilateral. However, now bilateral communication is important to making promotions regarding our diplomatic policies. And in the sector of culture and art, advanced countries have some national media system. Nicholas Kerr said the 5 factors of public diplomacy: listening, advocacy, cultural diplomacy, exchange, and international broadcasting. So public diplomacy utilizing media, we have 2 tracks. First, the government to provide information directly using, through the foreign correspondence or using the social network services. And second way is using the international broadcasters to promote and deliver, the spread the culture and the information of a certain country. It is an effective way to deliver the information to the general public. And the international broadcaster is now playing as a key player now in this regard. What now definition of media diplomacy? The role of media is a supervisor. It's is to survey. It is to monitor the government activities. That should be the major role of the media. Sometimes we need to limit some sensitive information. Sometimes we can be a deliverer of the key diplomatic messages. Sometimes we are involved in making some diplomatic messages. So our role, the government's role, government should play as an observer, not an activator. And it should strike the balance between the right to know the information and the information that the government would like to deliver. So the concept of the media diplomacy. We have, the good means a good tool will be the 24-hour English news channel. We should abide by the basic principle of the media. However, we should do kind of advance the kind of positive points of the international channel. So core kind of ways of new public diplomacy in the 21st century is international broadcaster. In the early stage, we had the BBC World and the CNN, and after Second World War, DW in Germany, and France 24, and the CCTV in China. So many countries have now international broadcasters. Then second point, some kind of news about the 2018 Pyeongchang Olympics. We have conservative and progressive media outlets, and we have two parts conflict often. Okay, we had a positive responses after regarding the Pyeongchang Olympics. However, in the early stage, we witnessed many conflicts between the two different the media parties. And in the initial stage, North Korea was just considered as a threat. However, through the inner Korean dialogue later on, from anxiety, the mood has dramatically changed. And most of the news was about kind of some touching and moving stories. However, there was a kind of negative news about some dog food or the environmental destruction. And I think this will be the key points. What would be the role to make Pyeongchang equals, to make the formula Pyeongchang equals peace? The role of international broadcasters is a good way to continue communication with the global citizens, as mentioned by Ms. Kim. And then to that end, we should make more, we should make more a range of sources of the news. First issue will be the diplomatic and the security issues. It's not easy to attract the attention, global attention to some local news in Pyeongchang. To appeal to global citizens, global audience, we should have various content, including culture, art, and tourism. So Pyeongchang should communicate with many national and international broadcasters to secure a range of content to better promote Pyeongchang. And what about informants? Okay, we may have informants in other areas. From different age groups, including young people. And co-producing with other, the international broadcasters can be a good project. For instance, some kind of program that analyzes some trend of young people in Korea, Japan, and China. This can be a good example. What I'd like to emphasize is that we should enhance, strengthen the new media service. It's not about simply running the YouTube or Facebook channels. We should listen to the needs of global audience, whether they are critical or not, what they favor, something like that. So it's kind of mutual communication. It's kind of the bilateral communication using the social network services. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the providing us the very specific examples and cases, and you well to make all those what you have said into practice. I think well the Arirang TV has to be in that level of the other countries like CNN or something like that. But I think there are a lot of things that we need to take into account. So thank you very much for your specific the cases. And our next speaker will talk about the Pyeongchang Olympic and peace resilience among global internet users. Okay. The reason that I came up with this title is that I am Shin Ho Chang, and well, the reason that I came up with this the theme is that uh, after the grand the mega size that is Olympic event, well, many times it just becomes somehow just a one time event. Then we have to think about the well, after hosting this kind of big event, what kind of things that we need to do so that it does not have to be just a one-time event, but it should be more like a campaign. So, well, that's why I came up with a storytelling. And when we look back in the Renaissance, well, we can find out that North Korea is one of the highest, the official delegate, Kim Yo-jong, came to the opening ceremony to the Pyeongchang Olympic. So Korea and the North Korea somehow utilized the storytelling um, and that somehow that influenced and then had led the top North Korea and the United States summit, and then well we were able to host the Pyeongchang Peace Forum, and well, now we have well in this Jeju region and the Gwangju region. Well, those other regional the cities they also come up with this a very similar concepts of the forums. The reason that I came up with this keyword storytelling is that it is not just the relevant to this specific the Olympic, but it is a kind of it can be applied to many other academies as well. So one example, before President Trump become the president of the United States, and he came up with the idea that that uh, he well there was a company well they came out with keep working America, and that was well the time was 2016, and one very important Hispanic the celebrity, and that they let him visit the Texas, one town in Texas, and then he had done with this and then to deliver the message that the barrier between this many different the uh, of many different people should not exist, and this kind of campaign has been done had continued not until now. And the second is the 20 what was done in year 2019 in the United States. A lot of people were exposed to drugs, and then well in that kind of the violent society a lot of people somehow disconnect one from one another, and so that they came up with a kind of campaign to be more associative to one another. But it was not well it was just done spontaneously. It was very well thoroughly prepared from the years much earlier. And one another thing that I could notice was that there's always campaign, and when the girls uh, about when they become like the 10 years old or so, they somehow they be recognize themselves as a lady, and then so the PNG they came out with this campaign that do not be ashamed of your very physical very natural the development as a little woman. So, well, we can see a lot of the similar the cases of the storytelling, and these kind of the storytelling campaigns were viewed and noticed by this the users of the viewers all around the world. And then the clicks and viewership was sometimes like the millions. So for us, for our the kind of the forum that we host to become the equivalent to develop the Davos the forum, that the public awareness and the public the attention is very public support is very important. And then one of the effective way to do so is the utilizing of the storytelling. Then if we can able to do that, Pyeongchang Peace Forum can stand up as one of the forum on par with the Davos Forum. And then in year 2024, we are to have the Gangwon, the youth the Olympic, Winter Olympic, so that we have a series of the big events to come in Korea, and then also that we are also trying to host an event with the North Korea as well. If that somehow pass, then it will draw a lot of attention from around the world. That's it. Thank you. You have shared us with what the storytelling is about, and this is and how we can apply it into what we do. And we have the events coming up in Korea in 24 and then in 25. If that year 2025, if the one very big important event can be held in the Gumgang Mountain in North Korea, if that's approved, then it will be very important to us, and then storytelling can be used here very can play a very important role. Now let's invite Dr. Ayan Kardir. He is originally from Turkey, but is now Korean. So from a foreigner's point of view, let's hear. His Korean name is Hanjun. So let's invite him. Uh, I will deliver in English for better communication.
18 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics was, of course, a very significant event that we remember not only because of the performance of the athletes, but also because of the peace theme, especially in the context of inter-Korean relations. And since the Olympics, Pyeongchang is aiming to associate peace with Pyeongchang. Most recently, as previous speakers also mentioned, there is Pyeongchang Peace Forum. And now the question that I want to address today is whether peace is a salient association that people around the world make with 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics. And I'll share some basic data from Google Trends and Twitter, but future research can look more in depth in addition to maybe doing media coverage analysis, very much like what Ms. Lee did earlier, and maybe a survey can reveal more in-depth results. So I'll begin with Google Trends, looking at the dates from 1st of January when Kim Jong-un made the speech up until the end of Winter Olympics 2018, 25th of February. The data suggests that, of course, as we can expect, the interest in Olympics peaked not before but during the Olympics. And most of the keywords were related to the medal count or other sports-related topics. They were the most salient topics. So peace does not really appear here. And when we look at what people searched about North Korea, related to North Korea, we see that their cheerleaders were quite popular. And when we look at what people searched about South Korea, it's the pursuit and the curling teams that were most popular. Peace does not appear again in these related searches. Peace-related contents only appear when we look for what people searched related to Kim Jong-un in this time frame. There we see people searched about Kim Jong-un in relation to the Olympics. So we see Olympics and peace in a way only related to Kim Jong-un's searches related to Kim Jong-un. And next I'll look at briefly on the social media. So these are the numbers, what people tweeted or posted on Instagram and Facebook related to the event. So many people have used social media to show their interest, and Twitter was, although it's not very popular in Korea, it was one of the most popular platforms that people talked about the Olympics. And again, when we look at it, most of the keywords here are related to the sports itself. Some of them are related to individual athletes, some of them are related to the sports. And peace, again, is not a very salient keyword here. And when we look at the tweets that have more than 100 retweets and likes, there are only 13 tweets, most of which were sent by either the Olympic channel or by the Gangwon province. Peace-related ones especially are related to the opening and closing ceremony, and a few also related to the UN speech by Kim Yona. And only 3 tweets that again talk about peace and Pyeongchang that had more than 100 tweets, retweets and likes, and those are again news stories or recently a speech by President Moon Jae-in. IOC played a very important role in active promotion of the peace and unity message of the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics in many different platforms, both on its website and across its social media accounts. But the same we cannot really say about global internet users. And another thing is that IOC's social media accounts are very active, but since Twitter is not very popular in Korea, for example, we don't see the same activity from Korean accounts. Pyeongchang 2018 was the official account of the Olympics, but since then it was probably changed. The username changed, or the account doesn't exist anymore. You cannot even find the earlier tweets. And when we look at YouTube, recently there is an Arirang documentary, but then again, it's not very much promoted. It only had 61 views, despite it was posted around 4 months ago. So coming to my suggestions, if we want Pyeongchang to be associated with peace, there must be presence on all of these internet platforms, social media platforms. There must be interactions, not only just posting what we want to post, but also interacting with others through hashtags, mentions, and replies. And for those also, visuals are very important, and those visuals should not be only in Korean, but also in English. Pyeongchang Peace Forum, for example, recently have a blue-ticked Twitter account, but it doesn't have many followers, but it can increase its followers and its presence if it engages more with the international public, and also in English in addition to Korean. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your message. So he showed that the data-driven, the international trend. During the period of Pyeongchang Olympics, Pyeongchang and peace. The pronunciation is similar. That both start with P, right? He mentioned that he suggested a global strategy to better promote Pyeongchang as a peace city. Thank you for your suggestion. So, from the perspective of communication, okay, these speakers mentioned about what we should do to make the city Pyeongchang as a city of peace. Before we proceed further, the listening to the speakers' kind of messages, do you have any opinion? I think for a short time we may discuss exchange some messages. I'd like to ask my question to Professor Ayan Kadir. When you analyze SNS, sometimes you can see the account or you cannot see the account. And sometimes some messages has a certain period. We cannot currently see some kind of relevant news articles or messages which is related to the Pyeongchang Olympics because it's already expired, right? Do you have a way to maintain the message of these kind of promotional materials on the social network services? How we can do it better on the social network? How we can do those promotional jobs better on SNS? Okay, this is the first question is to Professor Kadiro. So let me get another question to SLE. Okay, you are working at Arirang TV. Do you have any other subsequent projects? Okay, I have reviewed various channels, various international broadcasters. Okay, back in 2019, we first held, the first Pyeongchang Peace Forum. Okay, we have a good content out of the forum. However, we need to expand the content. We need to have the content that can better appeal to the people around the world. Okay, we have multiple YouTube channels. So we have documentary channels as well as you saw in the Mr. Kadir's presentation. And some of the documentary channels are still on. You can see the documentary channel on our YouTube channel as well. The documentary is just a kind of a promotional clip. Some has some English subtitles, but most of the content is just focused on the Korean audience. That's the reality. For better dialogue with foreign, overseas audience, we should enhance the content in English. And we should create content that can better appeal to general citizens, not just some global figures. As a broadcaster, we cannot create some content only for a certain province or local government. I think we should make a kind of a plan, more structured plan to make a progress in the long term. Thanks to Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, Pyeongchang is not just a province for Pyeongchang citizens. Okay, you have a Pyeongchang account or Gangwon province account or the account of other cities, and in these cases, and then we cannot identify who is responsible for this promotion for delivering the stories. So in connection with the peace, in connection with the Olympics, okay, I think we should. What kind of tips can you provide for better promotion of the Olympics? I think the messages of the four speakers are all connected. I think here keyword is about the sustainability. Okay, the value. So we create the value for North Korea and the US and other countries. By hosting this forum, I think it's time to think of how we can create more sustainable content. Then, to the end, first we need to change the form of the forum. Maybe we can utilize all the places in Pyeongchang, like a theater. Sometimes the materials discussed used in the Pyeongchang Peace Forum, those agenda hardly change actually in about 10 years. They can appeal to general public. Okay, so for the next year's Pyeongchang Peace Forum, the Pyeongchang Peace Forum, the form itself should be changed to create stories. Thank you. Mr. Ian?
So I'll connect
please.
Professor Kim's question with the chair's question. Actually, you don't need to delete a Twitter account. It can just continue there. So after the event ends, there are two things you can do. You can just leave the tweets there, the account there, and don't do anything. So it can just act as an archive for the tweets that were sent during the event. There is no need to delete the account. Second, you can change what you tweet about because the event ended. But if especially Pyeongchang wants to continue with the Peace Association, wants to have this brand for itself, then it can tweet about peace. It doesn't have to tweet about the events of the Olympics itself. And it can also talk about anniversaries or other, it can engage in other discussions related to peace. For example, what people celebrate on certain days, it can tweet about those hashtags. Another thing is, as you have suggested, this is not just Pyeongchang that needs to do this. There is the central government, there is the local government, there are other organizations in Korea and also worldwide that may have this same agenda, shared agenda. So more engagement, I don't only mean more engagement with ordinary publics. There could be more engagement, retweeting or mentioning of other organizations, partner organizations, both in Korea and also internationally to increase engagement and also attract more following and create the salient image of peace for Pyeongchang.
네, 감사합니다. 자, 뉴미디어를 어떻게 효과적으로 할 수에 대해서 얘기해 주셨습니다. 자, 요걸로 일단은 첫 번째 그 소통, 미디어의 관점에서 평창 올림픽에 대해서 논의를 좀 마치도록 하고요. 두 번째
And then let's move on to our second the topic. And a lot of people talked about the value of this the Pyeongchang the legacy, and then Pyeongchang is leading in this role, and we also have this Gangwon, the province, playing an important role, and we have Kim Tae-wan, a professor. International Korea National Diplomatic Academy, and he from the perspective of diplomacy. Do you have any ideas? Thank you very much.
개로 저는 크게 세 가지 포인트만 좀 말씀을 드릴게요. 첫 번째 제가 말씀드리고 싶은 것은 공공 외교에 대한 두 가지 시각 또는 두 가지 접근과
Okay, I'm going to make 3 points. First is about the role of the public diplomacy. Regarding the public diplomacy, it is about utilizing the internal resources to appeal to the global people. There are 2 ways. First, public diplomacy can be used as a way to achieve the diplomatic goal. That is the primary goal of the public diplomacy. It is about raising the the national brand of Korea, and it is about better appealing to the global citizens. these are the main roles of public diplomacy. And second point is that I think it is a perspective of identity. By communicating about identity, of course, letting people know about me is important too, through communication. It is a process of finding is an inter-subject meeting. For instance, some kind of common agenda, peace, human rights. Okay, from country to country, countries may have some somewhat slightly different perspective on these common topics, and the main primary goal of public diplomacy is the narrowing the gap among the countries regarding the common agenda. So now this one is about communicating with others to find a compromising point regarding this common topic if there's any kind of gap or difference. As a result, kind of subjective identity. Okay, through this communication, it is possible to modify the subjective identity, which means that it is about expanding the identity, the scope of identity itself. The Olympics and the sports diplomacy should serve these two roles. First, the Korea successfully held the Olympic game and made a great record. It is a good way of promotion as a nation to the international community. In the case of the Seoul Olympics back in 1988, at the time, in 1988, we made a dramatic economic growth and we made progress towards the democracy. And it was a great opportunity to let the world know of such a progress happening that happened in Korea. So the value that we pursue in the international community and the norms that we pursue in the international community. So I think the 1988 to 88 the Olympics played on the latter part. I'm not talking about which one is better or not. Okay, other speakers mentioned about the sustainability issue. Okay, Pyeongchang Olympics is also one of the events. Even if we made a lot of efforts to deliver the peaceful message to the world at the time, through digital media or something like that, it is a valor. It cannot last permanently. So the value and discourse should be regenerated on and on. We need to secure the means to do that. In that sense, Pyeongchang Peace Forum can be a good venue to continuously regenerate. I mean, the generate and regenerate is a kind of peaceful messages even after the one of the Pyeongchang Olympic event. I also enjoyed the previous Pyeongchang Peace Forum, and they talked about not only the peace on the Korean Peninsula. Speakers or discussants there, they linked the peace here on the Korean Peninsula with the UNSGs. It is not just about kind of special, the circumstances here in Korea. The forum tried to deliver a very universal message to the world. I highly recognize such kind of progress or achievement of the forum. As a scholar, it should not end only at the Pyeongchang Peace Forum. Peace, the value. Now we need to make an effort to convert the peace into the international norm. I cannot provide more detailed information on this because of limited time. So we should now pave the way toward the peace and public diplomacy, peaceful and public diplomacy. We have several challenges here. One of them is we should make a kind of a knowledge community, international knowledge community. They can act beyond border. So at the end of the day, it is about the storytelling. Okay, storytelling means that if you want to tell a good story, good narrative, you need to have kind of evidence to back up your story, to spread, to deliver your message, and then to make a relevant institution. The first point should be a handful of expert people. So those experts can start the discussion like in the form like a Pyeongchang Peace Forum, and then later they can form a kind of international knowledge community to generate and regenerate the peaceful messages. That is why Pyeongchang Peace Forum is a good starting point. Thank you.
자, 역시
Okay, thank you very much. Since, well, as you are a scholar, well, you could get a lot of insights and how the Pyeongchang is unique from any other the forums with a similar the context. And we have mentioned about the universal values and then linkage to the SDGs. And thank you very much for your great and very impressive comments. We were faced with a lot of challenges, and you have provided us with great solutions to it. So thank you very much. So another speaker is from Koika. Well, the Korea played a critical role in the hosting the 2018 Olympic, and then our Song Jin-ho, he would like to provide us with more cases. So please. So the thing that I would like to talk about in this session is the 2024 the Gangwon Youth Olympic Youth Olympic and Peace and Diplomacy, and how can the Youth Olympic is linked to the peace diplomacy. So I would like to take you to the 15 years ago when I was I was working in the East Timor. East Timor was the newly established nation, and the state building and the peace building was one very important. And there was a football league called Simu Maru, and then the purpose of having this a football league was to forgive one another and then embrace one another, and it was very unique in that the first president of the East Timor was in fact previous the football player who was a goalkeeper, and another very the received the football players was from abroad also visited the site to congratulate and encourage the athletes, and So that is how the East Timor case deals with peace and diplomacy, and this was also was also mentioned and was also dealt in terms of the storytelling. So well, it was about the sport, peace, and democracy. When we think about the football plays a big role because, well, the athletes have to follow certain rules. So it is a democratic and it also deals with human rights and is peaceful in itself. And there are and then while the educating the while we engage with this football play, it has a meaning in terms of the democratic, the civilian trainings as well, and it can also serve as an important tool when we deal with the civilians in a very democratic way, and when we train them. So we have this word called dine and dash. So since the Pyeongchang Winter Olympic is over, then the festival is over. So is it time to dine and dash? So what are these heritage and what are the Olympic legacy? So when there is an important national level the event, it is important that we draw some legacy out of it, and how we can they make a great use of this Olympic related facilities. And then these are kind of the legacy can also provide more jobs. And when we talk about the Pyeongchang legacy, it's the very important unique legacy Pyeongchang has was that it had drawn out the outcome of peace. So it was very unique, the national event which has the put forward the idea of the peace, and that there are not that many the cities has a very meaningful meanings into it. Well, when we think about the Gwangju region, we automatically think about the words of democracy and the democratic protest, and it somehow shapes the city's the image or the brand image. So that similar goes to Pyeongchang region as well. So it is a link to the keyword called peace. So and so the Pyeongchang to succeed this legacy, it has hosted a lot of the events in the Pyeongchang city region, such as Pyeongchang Peace Cup, Pyeongchang Football League, or the Pyeongchang Music Festival, and Culture Open the events and the Pyeongchang Peace Centers as well. And not only that, it works with several other the national entities, and so that to maintain and the legacy and to pass down the legacy of the Pyeongchang. So, and then nowadays, Pyeongchang is doing something new to stand up to better stand up as a peace city, and in the past, the Olympic was more like geared toward enhancing the national image and to promote the country itself. But nowadays, the keywords such as the city regeneration has become very important. And therefore, in case of the Pyeongchang, and we can also it is closely linked with this diplomacy and the geopolitics, and so it has opened up a new way how what kind of the role the city can play to promote the idea of peace. So in terms of we can interpret that in this era of the post territorialism, we can utilize this Pyeongchang Olympic as a city peace diplomacy. And Pyeongchang, the city of Pyeongchang, has rebrand itself, or the better brand itself, and then also the market is market itself as a peaceful city, and well, there are several other cities. Maybe well, each city is doing many different, made their own its unique roles, and well, let's say that Jeju, the keyword they are trying to promote when in the Jeju city is is a Pyeonghwa, it's a peace as well, but it is not easy to deliver that message and to increase the public perception. But the Pyeongchang itself has utilized the medium, the means of Olympic to promote the itself as a peaceful city, and well, it also worked with several other the nations or the cities to better promote its ideas. And in Pyeongchang, there are three entities that play a big role. So we have this Gangwon province, and then well, we also have Pyeongchang Legacy Foundation, and we have Pyeongchang County. And then these different entities, they play their important role in terms of the post Pyeongchang Olympic. And then their role accommodates the sports public diplomacy and the post the legacy of the peace and public diplomacy, and how to promote the peace city and unification of related public policy. And in the Pyeongchang region, that well, when you look at this, the examples, the peace Pyeongchang Peace Forum is held every year, and also the Pyeongchang International Peace, the theme. The theme film festival is also held, and then there is the football league, and then also Peace Youth Camp. And then when we look at these the logos here, it says the Gangwon 2024. We well in the middle it says we are going to Pyeongchang, and when you look at the boy in the middle, he's wearing the ski uniform, and then on top of that, he is on the back side. It has a 17, which is the football uniform. So inside he's wearing the skate uniform, but outside the football uniform. What kind of message does it bring? So that it says that it is closely linked to the Pyeongchang ideas, and so in year 2024, Gangwon, the Youth Olympic, was our directions uh, is more toward the youth peace action, and then to link it to the unification diplomatic the diplomacy. And the youth, well, in Korean word, it is important that we write it in the verb. So the rhetoric itself is important, but what is more important to that is put that into action. So one of the ways that we have done in this regard was that we had hosted this unification the bicycle riding course. So it's almost to the DMZ the place. So almost toward the North Korean, the south, north, and south side, the parallel line, so that we has the students had rode a bicycle, and it was a 2 night 3 day event and toward the DMZ region, so that to promote and then to enshrine the ideas of peace. And we there's in the Pyeongchang region, there's also the youth the public ambassadors the activities as well, so that it is more the led by the youth in Korea in the region. And so well, when we talk about the Pyeongchang, it should not be just a one unilateral way, so that and then it should accommodate more people, and well, by doing so, we can draw more attention from many different the stakeholders, and the way that we move forward should be the well directed to more accommodating ways. So before I finish up, so there are several entities that are leading the who are working in this regard, and the partnership among these the institutions and the entities are very important to encourage people to share the ideas of the theme of the Pyeongchang in language with peace, and also that in terms of the contents development. And well, we recently have established Pyeongchang Peace Center and the Pyeongchang the Peace Theme Park, and these are kind of well, it is important. It will play a very important role, but another that the activities that should be done in this regard, uh, so that will to increase the public awareness, and so that and then we also need to come up with the creative ideas, and then we also that we also have to invite and encourage more youth to come forward in this message delivery, and in the and also that we are working with the Jeonbuk region, so that we are also with this Jeonbuk region, the northern Jeolla region, and then we are currently under discussion with this governor of that region to co-host the Jamboree in year 2023, and we we also have this the PND, and well the director also had a close relationship has built a close relationship with Pyeongchang, so that well we would make a great use of this the people that we already know. So well, that's all I need to cover. So past 3 years, oh, you have shared with us the very qualitative and the quantitative the ideas that you have accumulated so far for the past 3 years in regard to Pyeongchang and peace. And when we look at the peace, the YouTube channel, there's a lot of the contents, Pyeongchang related contents, so that the Pyeongchang. So are you have it's a Pyongyang, it's a summit, it's a peace summit. Was I think it is related to the storytelling, and then I could see that related content on the YouTube, and I think that if you can that share with us very specific cases and initiatives, it will be very important. If we the So to summarize up, we have this peace and Pyeongchang diplomacy, but in detail, we talked about the brand image and then about the partnership and what we need to do by the entities. And there are room for us to further develop the ideas that we have shared today. Well, since we do not have further questions from the floor, so that before we finish up, would you please give us the suggestions that you would like to make in regard to today's topic? So please. Professor Kim Tae-hwan and Shin-ho-chang, so please make the final remarks. So I'd like to add two things. First, the role of the municipal government. nowadays we are in the midst of the post-COVID-19. And we are also, due to the COVID-19, we are witnessing the trend of the nationalism. So that I would say that the municipal government has somewhat more room to play to initiate the peaceful initiatives than the central government. And on top of that, in the digital media, can play a big role by the municipal government. So that if we can think about these two parts, the role of the municipal government and then its position, and then the role of the social media as a means, if we can accommodate these two means, I think that it will be very important so that we can overcome the issue of the self-centricism, especially in this COVID-19 era. So that importance, when we get rid of ourselves, when we go beyond the self-centricism, then that it will just it lead us, ironically, where it will lead us toward more together. And the Seoul Olympic, in the back in 1980s, it was mostly led by the central government. But Pyeongchang, it has a more the city, the importance of its city, so it is somewhat different in that regard. And so, our President Shin Woo-chang. So, final remark, please. Today we had another seminar. And I have attended several other seminars, but today, I could get a lot of insights from our the speakers. I even take some notes. And the year 2024, the Youth Olympic, and the way that we should move forward is that to create the metaverse game. So the game it can be that in the long time in the warfare, when it's related to warfare, it is killing one another. But if it is linked to the sports, it's more like a peaceful. So that if this becomes in a global state of the standard global stage, then Pyeongchang can gain a lot of the great attention from the world. So that I think that the public diplomacy that has a lot of room to play, and also that academia and our diplomacy association has a great room to play. And another thing that we are doing is that on the 20th of September, we are making that week as the peaceful week, so that and then the 20th of September is that in that week we are talking with the Public Diplomacy Association. So we are planning on having a lot of peaceful the programs. So, and then there will be another the seminar to be formed how we in this regard to further develop our ideas that we have shared today. So, is that event confirmed? So, I might have to ask our director here. Then, so as long as it is confirmed, since we are planning on it, then we would develop further our ideas on the on the peace and the Pyeongchang Olympic. So hope to see you all again. So that summarizes up. So let's give all of our speakers a big round of applause once again. So thank you very much for your attendance. We will have a lunch break until the next session will be held at 30th on the 1:30 under the theme of AI for human peace and the preservation of global environment, organized by Jeju Halla University. So we'll close up this session. Thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you.